a positive mind is good, but a still mind is better. And so like anxiety, fear, worry, doubt, anger, all those things can only happen from thoughts. Like anxiety is from thoughts. So if you really understand that, then you realize all that stuff is from thoughts, and not just thoughts. It's not thoughts, it's believing your thoughts. So when you really get that, then all those things I just mentioned, they have no power on you.
That's Ben Gordon, drummer of Australian metal royalty.
Parkway Drive.
The beginning of us.
Feel like something is rapidly transfigurating in my core of being, an awakening of sorts.
The beginning of us.
A raw conversation hosted by your main frother, Billy Otto.
Pulling apart what it means to rebirth, to rewild, to be curious and to rechild. Wowee, fam, it's so good to be back on the show once more. Calling in from Lennox Head. Yeah, guys, just a little bit of a check-in moment. I've been sleeping really well the last 2 nights, and if you know me well, insomnia is part of my life every now and then, and I just feel really blessed to be in good rhythms, reading at night instead of watching screens, spending a lot more time alone, being in the sun, surfing every day, cooking lots of vegetables, fresh, organic, locally sourced veggies. I've just felt so loved, just loving on my body. Yeah, this morning was kind of funny. I had to stomach some things, and I had to apologize to someone for coming across as a bit of a dum-dum. I'm not saying this at all as a victim or woe is me. It's just more so, just more so learning to be mindful of what I say and meaning what I say and speaking with kindness in every sphere of my life. And I felt like over the last 24 hours, I just didn't honor my friend in communication the best that I could. And this awesome human was in a bit of a vulnerable state, and I needed some clarity on something. And anyway, I just feel like I'm learning a lot about my words and the weight and the power that my words and thoughts have. So yeah, it's never too late to say sorry. And this awesome human accepted my apology, and life flows on, and moments pass through you like a porous rock, like a river flow. No longer do you have to remain a reservoir. Today is a time where you can have these thoughts, emotions, sufferings. They can pass through you, and it's beautiful. I'm really excited about this podcast. Just a couple of nights ago, I was at Ben Gordon's house, and if you know Parkway Drive, they're one of the greatest metal bands of the world at the moment. The boys are all from Byron Bay. I've loved these boys' music since I was quite young, since I was a little surfing grom. I've learned a bunch of their songs to different HSC music pieces when I used to be a music teacher, but I could not believe where this interview went. I never knew that it was going to go on such a deep dive into the realm of awakening and inner work. And I just want to honor Ben as a great man, not only as a drummer, as an entrepreneur, but he's just done a lot of work on his heart, and he's postured his mind towards learning and embracing stillness. And you're going to be so inspired. And I just want to thank all you guys out there for listening into this podcast. I've just got a couple of different messages I want to read out from a few frothers. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever received so much response for a post and for something that I've written about or spoken about. But yeah, if you didn't hear episode number 4, it was all about my journey of religion and things that I've processed and places that I've come to. From an anonymous frother, your words ran to my ears like silk, and I really felt you when you talked about an upbringing that encouraged hard Christian dualities, suppressing emotions, playing rugby, and working your way up to become this macho figure. And for what? It's beautiful how you've become aware of that and embrace your feminine energy, allowing that simple yet so easily overlookable isness to shine through. I was brought up the same way. What a fucking journey, huh? Lo Army from America. Just finished listening to the podcast. I appreciate your honesty and transparency. Stay blessed, bro. Keep fighting for the injustice you see. Reen from Byron Bay, thank you for sharing your journey. I loved hearing you unpack the nuances of judgmental thinking that can be so painful for people growing up in some faith movements, and loved the honor you unpacked as well. Great to hear your story. Yeah, tribe, it's such an honor to receive any messages from you. Please write to me, DM me on Instagram, give you a little shout. Yeah, it's a pretty vulnerable and raw way to share stories, and so I just really appreciate the support, and it's giving me so much clarity as a human as I explore parts of my own narrative, the collective narrative, and how it feeds into my expression, into my podcast, and into my music, and into my conversations, and I'm just growing so quickly from this potty. So guys, please share the podcast as much as you can. Keep giving your ratings, reviews. Really appreciate all the downloads. Yeah, numbers are growing. It's amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Get pumped for Benny Gordon. If you haven't visited the general store in Byron Bay, it's an incredible plant-based cafe that Ben owns with his mate. And if you haven't listened to Parkway Drive, check him out on Spotify. And you're going to hear about some other really cool causes that Ben's been a part of. But follow him on Instagram at BenXGordon. And keep up to date with all the incredible projects that he's talking about and all the places that he's surfing. Heaps of love. Namaste. The beginning of us. Super excited today. We have the ultimate frother, the plant-based powered entrepreneur himself, not only drumming for Australia's biggest ever metal band, Parkway Drive. He's a humble cat, shreds in the surf, runs long distances, and he's saving our planet as an activist, one smile at a time. Welcome to the show, Byron Bay's own Ben Gordon.
What an intro. Thanks, mate.
Dude, all in. Dude, it's such an honour to be in your house, in your yoga room, overlooking Tallows.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, it's a really good spot.
Yeah.
It's a good spot to do some yoga and meditate every morning.
Yeah. Can you just give some description of what you get to wake up to every day?
Yeah, well, it's basically I bought a house about 9 months ago, and I bought it mainly because I can check the surf from my bedroom. And wake up to the sunrise every morning, which is unbelievable. And then now that it's whale season, there's just non-stop whales. Something about seeing the ocean from your house that is so liberating. It's like when you're home, it's not like, even if I was home all day, don't have the feeling of I'm just at home. Like you feel like you're somewhere good, like you're at a destination. It's really good. So,
man, and I can just imagine all those minerals that you're just collecting from the ocean every day as well, all those negative ions, just that oceanic energy.
Yeah, it's really good.
And you get to sleep on that as well. Like,
yeah.
You must sleep amazing.
Really good for the mental state. It's just so calming.
Dude. Yeah, because I feel like sometimes when you're like, if you've got a house in the suburbs and you're sitting around, even if you're doing work at home, you feel like a bit of a bum. There's that cabin fever kind of vibe. And
yeah.
I was just looking through Ben's telescope before. Where were we checking? Broken.
Checking broken, yeah. Maybe spying on some people. But yeah, I had the realisation before I bought this place that real estate in Byron is only going up and up, and especially the higher end spots. And I thought, well, fuck, I may as well try and get something that, like, the forever home they call it now, because I always was just like, I'll just wait one day, and then I thought, fuck, I may as well just try and get something now, because otherwise the prices would become unobtainable. So I just charged, and I'm pretty stoked because
you've had a few properties yet.
Yeah, I've been buying properties since I was like 22. So
dude, in the game.
Yeah, I've kind of been smart with the money we've made. I haven't done the usual rock star thing of
just blowing on the bag.
Yeah, blowing it on drugs and cars and all that shit. But
no.
I kind of realised a while ago, as did the rest of the band, like when we started making decent money, I didn't want to, like, being in a band, it's so uncertain. Like, you can have a big fight and we could break up tomorrow, or,
sure.
an album could flop and it's all over. So I didn't want to get to like do well, and then all of a sudden it's over, and then I got to go work at Woolies. So I wanted to try and invest and kind of be smart.
Oh man, I've loved your work over the years. I was just thinking actually today as I was like doing some cleaning up around the house. The first time I ever heard of Parkway Drive was through a Riptide mag.
Oh wow, sick!
Did you grow up bodyboarding?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, I did.
So funny.
That's how me and Winston met.
Yeah.
Because we both bodyboarded, and I used to film heaps.
Yeah.
I was good friends with his brother Oscar, and then I used to film.
And his dad was Chaz.
His dad was Chaz, like a bodyboard.
Who I read about through Riptide. Yeah, just like bodyboarding legend.
Yeah. It's funny though, because sometimes, because I've been surfing now for the last 12 years, like when I was 19 or something, longer, 14 years. But and obviously if you don't do something in those developing teenage years, it's hard to get really good. So like I can surf okay, but I'm not like as good as my mates who grew up standing up since they were a kid. And sometimes I regret it, thinking, fuck, I wish I surfed when I was younger. But I still stand by it that Parkway probably wouldn't exist because that's how me and Winston met, through bodyboarding. And then we started the band, and then all the other stuff happened. So I guess I'll take being in a band. And
sometimes I feel the same way about being a bass player for so long.
Yeah.
Now that I'm a guitarist singer, I'm like, fuck, I could be shredding as a guitarist. I could be like a John Mayer, singer, guitarist guy. But dude, it was actually the Riptide mag, and I think it was like one of your first kind of features in there. I was super young at the time. I think I was like 8 or 9, or maybe 10 or something. I don't know. You guys were like 14, 15, 16. When was the first time you guys started playing? Yeah, like jamming as Parkway.
Yeah, I was 16.
This isn't like a big narrative thing about the band, by the way. It's just like, I'm sure you've said this 1,000 times.
No, that's all right. So we started jamming. We got together in November 2002. I was 16.
Yeah.
And then our first show was a few months later.
Dude.
So it's been over half my life. I'm 34 now. Yeah. It's fucking pretty crazy, really.
What was life growing up in Byron when you were a youngster, when you were a Grom?
Really good.
Yeah.
Like, fucking as good as it gets.
Yeah.
It's just, as you know, it's just a really good place to live and to grow up. And back then it was obviously a lot quieter, more of a community. You knew everyone you went to school with. You knew everyone, and it's grown a lot. But I don't know, it hasn't as well. Like there's a lot more people, but like people that grow up here, a lot of them kind of complain. But to me, because I've had the foresight and because of the privilege of being able to travel so much, I've still never found anywhere in the world I'd rather live. And, you go from a American tour where you're going into like Detroit's and fucking, I won't name any other cities,
Alabama.
but yeah, you're going into some pretty fucked places. Yeah. And then you come home and you just can't even believe it. And then you bump into someone like an old local and they say, oh yeah, Byron's pretty shit these days. And you think, oh man, just go anywhere else in the world and you won't be saying that. It's still that good.
Dude, so good, man. Like honestly, like I lived in Sydney the last 4 years and I thought Maroubra was amazing until I moved to Bundjalung country. This way, I was just like, and I had guys like Kyle and that saying like, why are you not living up here? Like this is where like you can rewild your heart again. Like it'll make you younger. Just come to Byron, man. And but the first 3 days that I was kind of visiting and sussing out if I was going to live here, I just knew that this is where I wanted to stay long term. And having traveled a lot for music stuff as well, there's just nowhere else in the world. Yeah, it's true. That just has this quality of life and this vibration. And there's definitely something about it. It just ticks a lot of boxes because there's a lot of beautiful places in the world. Like, there's heaps, but this has the natural beauty, but it also has the community and it also has the facilities. Like it just has the right balance, which is why a lot of locals, including myself, have kind of, try and protect that balance because if it goes too far the wrong way, it can be lost pretty quick, I feel. Yeah. But it's still there for sure. Back when you guys were playing, back in the teenage days, was it a cool thing to be involved in music at that time?
Yeah, I guess it was, yeah. It was like a small hardcore scene in Byron, which was like popular at the time, like anything, and it grew like with us becoming kind of popular, it grew quite big. and now it's like
North Coast hardcore.
Yeah, it was all
a
that
thing.
stuff. It's
Yeah.
pretty funny now looking back, like any kind of fad or trend or whatever it was. But like you watch footage of people moshing at shows now, and it's pretty hilarious. But everyone was into it, and it was good fun. Obviously, being a hardcore band from Byron, a lot of people all over the world don't really understand that, because I guess that's one of our points of difference as well. But I've always said it was mainly from like surf movies, skate movies. It was more energy than real like kind of aggression, and it can be seen as like violent or whatever, but it's just a release of energy. At least for me, being the drummer, that's the main thing.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, like, because obviously you listen to a lot of different kinds of music, but what do you think is so alluring about metal music, metal hardcore, especially for men?
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to answer it now because I don't really listen to it. But I know growing up, it's just got, like, there's 10 million songs and bands that sing about love and that whole thing, and that's great. There's a place for that. But then there's also the other side of it when you're kind of either pissed off or you're going to the gym or you need to be fired up before you go on surfing. Like it's really like the energy, like it psychs you up. And that's basically what we've specialised in, is like basically psyching you up through the music. Like breakdowns, that's what it is. It just like when you listen to it and you can't help but just bang your head or just fucking get emotional, or it evokes something. That's what we've tried to do, is basically like just bring it out
honestly like when you start banging those skins and Winston's on stage, it feels like you're going to war or something. There's something really primal about it.
Sure.
There's something almost like Neanderthalic, and you hear like boom, doom, do, do, do. And then like it's just I think as a man, I've always felt with hardcore and metal, there's so much conviction in it. Like I play indie music and like shoegaze, pop music and stuff, and everyone's kind of like doing this, and you're kind of just floating on this like cosmic cloud. But there's something about metal that is just kind of like, fuck, this is it. Like talking about real shit, and it's confronting.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's kind of uncomfortable, and there's dissonance, and there's a lot of darkness to embrace.
For sure. Yeah, definitely lyrically there's all that side. But I feel like, as I said, the main thing is the energy, like the maximum energy. Like, because like you said, with indie music, it's kind of like you got the groove, you got the pocket, and you're sitting in that, and that's great. But like when we play, especially from my point of view, it's 100%. Like you're giving everything when you play, and people can feel that. Luckily for us, it's one of the, I feel like it's one of the best genres live because of that.
Yeah, it's so
because
exciting.
Basically the crowd is part of the show, because we give everything, they give everything, and it's like this tangible energy in the room, and it's like it's kind of that's the best thing about
what's released in that room.
For sure.
Like even I watched Viva for the first time last week, and it was amazing, man. And just hearing some of your friends responding. I think there was a guy from Germany. Thank you so much for your music, Parkway. For everything you've taught us and everything you've meant to us, and just kind of like. But it seemed like there was something so emotional and spiritual about his connection to the music, and because I think it is like metal is really vulnerable.
Yeah.
And when you even seeing footage on that documentary, the back and forth, like the ice is completely broken when you guys are playing, and there's this back and forth, like this dance between the crowd and you guys, and it's so raw. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it's crazy because throughout our career we've had so many people come up to us and say all that we've changed their lives, and they wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our music, and it's kind of it's pretty full on when someone says that too, but it's obviously great. It's rewarding, and it makes you more, I guess, stoked on what we do, that people take it that way. But I don't know. I guess it's hard.
Is that like pretty incredible in like a purpose and meaning sense? Because obviously you can be smashing out tunes, but when your music can mean so much to someone else's journey, when someone's contemplated suicide, and, that must impact you.
100%, yeah. It feels really good. And I mean, there's the other side of it. A lot of we've had a lot of army guys before, so especially in America, like we get soldiers come up and say, "Man, we blasted your music in our tanks when we were going through Afghanistan," and we're like, "going fuck, fuck, that's not what we wanted." We're like, "Oh, thanks, man." Yeah, like a lot of dudes like we were in the war, and I was listening to you guys to get me through it. Oh my god, let's become a fucking indie band. So I guess that's music, though. It's open for interpretation for everyone.
Yeah. Nah, it's great, man. Just on music, were you very impacted by Lars growing up?
No.
Really?
No. I don't actually. It's so weird. I was pretty
Lars
narrow.
Ulrich, by the way. If
Yeah.
anyone out there doesn't know Metallica.
I was pretty narrow-minded. I listened to punk, like Pennywise, Bad Religion, those kind of bands, and then into hardcore, which is more like less known bands. And the bigger metal bands like Metallica's Pantera, Slayer, they were almost too mainstream for us back then. Like Jeff, the guitarist in the band, used to listen to them. But for me, I didn't really even give
you
those...
You were into Black Flag.
They were a bit too old for me. Like,
yeah, but as in like, because you know, like Pennywise was on like every surf video.
Yeah.
Back in the day, everything was like punk and hardcore.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to think of, I guess you were probably more influenced by what was current in the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not as many throwbacks.
Well, that's the thing. We were influenced by the bands that were influenced by the Black Flags and the Ramones and that stuff, like the next generation down.
Yeah.
So, but it wasn't until
effects.
it wasn't until later on where I started listening to the kind of original bands that influenced them, and I was like, "Fuck, these bands are really good." Like I only started listening to Metallica. Oh, not that long ago, 8 years ago or something, and I was like, "Oh my god, they're fucking so good."
It's funny. I listened today. Like, there's a few interviews where people would assume that you guys would listen to a lot of Metallica.
Yeah.
You know, but
yeah. Well, Jeff does it, and he's the main riff writer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's definitely some influence there.
Were you drum trained growing up, or
No. I had like
because there's a lot of
10 lessons.
Man, like I watched that the drum solo that you posted about, and you getting twisted around. And there's heaps of like tribal elements. Yeah. Which again, like, isn't like you're a metal band, but you're bringing in these jungle beats.
Yeah. Well, that one's interesting because I'm going upside down. Like I wrote this drum solo before that tour that was like really good, and then when I got in the cage, because I couldn't practice going upside down here. So when I got in the cage, I couldn't do that solo because I was going upside down. And then like gravity, it's the biggest mind fuck when you're going upside down. Your whole sense of normality just like because I'm focused on the drums, which doesn't change. So my view doesn't really change, but all of a sudden gravity just shifts. And anyway, like your legs obviously get heavy and like weird stuff goes on. So I had to simplify that solo a lot. But yeah, I mean, what happened to me with drumming is I just started playing. I got like 10 lessons, and the drum teacher from Byron, he was trying to teach me proper, like in hindsight, like actual technique and jazz, and I was just a fucking energetic kid that just wanted to play punk. So I just started playing my own stuff and didn't really learn proper technique. And then it wasn't till I was about 20, 21 when I got on the cover of a like drum magazine, and or a big feature. I wasn't a cover yet, but and then the interviewer was asking me all these questions, and I basically didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. Didn't know what rudiments were and any of that shit. And after that, I was like, this is turning into my career now. I better actually learn the fuck I'm talking about, what I'm doing. So I had to go back to basics and learn, like, correct all my technique, and it was the best thing I ever did for my drumming. Like I basically just started from the start and learnt so much, and then it helped me a lot, implement a lot of new ideas and grow as a musician.
Dude. Yeah, well, that's cool, man. But at least I think it's like now when I'm producing a lot of strings players for albums, and they're so classically trained. They've been studying classical music for 20 years or whatever, and asking them just to kind of channel in the moment and just like riff is so difficult because they're so committed to, I guess, the rubric and the template of classical music, and they're so ingrained and conditioned in that mode that they struggle to kind of just be in the spontaneous. And so I guess you grew up jamming with boys, and so your musicality was so organic.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've often said, and we've talked about this, me and Jeff, who, like, Jeff's the main riff writer, so me and him write most of the music, and he's the same, he just taught himself. And we've often said, and I've realised that, like, learning proper has its benefits, but also you get institutionalized a bit. So basically when you learn, if you went to uni for music, right, you get told this is how you do it, this is what you shouldn't do, this is what you have to do, and so it becomes a box, what you should be doing. And we didn't know, like, a lot of our older stuff, like, if you listen to it, it's out of key, but it sounds good. Like, he didn't really know what a key was. We didn't know, like, the tempos would sway and all this shit, but it just felt good.
Because some of your metering, like, time signature-wise, is, like, really... I used to be a HSC music teacher. Yeah. And I remember there was this one... I can't remember which song it was, but there was just, like, these different time changes and stuff. And I'm just like, you'd almost think that you guys really knew what you were doing.
Yeah, but it was the opposite. We had no idea. We literally, every single riff, like every single part of the song used to be a different tempo. We didn't realise, we didn't even know the concept of a tempo for a song. Every tempo would change. And then structure, we had no fucking idea. We would literally just have like we wouldn't have even anything that repeated. It would just be like a musical journey for a song.
Yeah, almost like classical music, just a journey.
Yeah, but like... We listen now and we were thinking, what the hell are we doing? But it's taken us like 17 years, like our whole career, to learn how to write better songs. But I mean, it had its place back then and it got us to where we were. Yeah. But we just basically had no idea what we were doing, but it felt right. So it is.
Did you say that you love playing live?
Well, yeah, I do. But we've done it a lot, and we were pretty burnt out for a while there. When you've done like tour after tour after tour, it's hard to love it. But tell you what, this COVID whole thing's actually, I feel like, good for us because it's allowed us to have a break for the first time. Like this year, we were supposed to go to Europe in April, and then do an Aussie tour in June, then be in America right now, and it would have been just a normal year, but now we haven't played live. We've played 3 shows in a year, and like I'm really looking forward to playing again. We've got like, I've been playing drums, like practicing, but like just because I want to now, which I haven't done that for ages. Usually you get home from a tour and the last thing I want to do is play drums because I just want to break from it. And then if I have to practice all right, I'm like, fuck, I better do it because it's my job. But now I'm actually playing just for the love of it again. So it's actually really good having this break.
Yeah, man. I remember the first time I spoke to you at the Jenny, it just seemed like you were pumped kind of from COVID because it did cut off a few opportunities and it just kept you grounded in Byron and just coming back to the beautiful, simple things of normal living. And
yeah. Well, me and Jeff actually were we were fighting for it to have a year off for the last few years, and the other guys didn't really want to, it didn't make sense, and then it just kind of happened. So pretty, I mean, I'm not stoked about the whole scenario because it's not good, but it is what it is, and we're making the most of it.
Yeah, man. I remember probably about a month ago, you DM'd me on Instagram about an interview that I did with Happy Mag around mental health, around masculinity and those kinds of things. And has that been something that's interested you when it comes to, especially within guys, like male mental health and I guess what you would have been exposed to growing up around Byron in the music scene and probably having lost some friends to depression and what's been your journey with that? Yeah,
so, I mean, it hasn't been... Let me think about that. You can edit that, right? Yeah. Like a pause.
Dude, you're killing it.
So, I mean, like every Aussie male, there's been a journey there. But I feel like in Byron, it's not, or at least the scene, my friend group, it wasn't as masculine as other places.
Like everyone trying to get their first Hilux and like
Yeah.
rugby league town. Like I came from that in Newcastle, fully that scene.
Yeah, but 100%, it's an Aussie cultural problem where guys can't talk about their feelings, can't talk about problems because you're weak and fucking you'll be right, mate. And that's obviously why we've got the highest suicide rate in the world for young males. But yeah, man, it's a full thing. I just liked you doing that because I like people talking about it, and I've always talked about it not because I've particularly had issues with it, but I've just been always okay talking about it, and I know that a lot of other guys aren't. So when I saw you doing that, I was like, yeah, man, well done. Like it's good opening up that conversation, but
yeah, because. I don't know, like, was that fostered at all in your family, like, kind of openness, like, with you and your dad, I guess, with the boys, like, because I feel like for a lot of Australian dudes, we kind of come to vulnerable conversations quite late.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because of our culture, and so it takes a pretty special family or situation that you can be, like, soft as a man. Yeah.
Yeah, my family wasn't very open. We didn't really talk about shit. Still don't really. I don't know what it was, but I've always been okay talking about it. I actually think a lot of it's to do with, like, I've never drunk alcohol, and I think a lot of it's like, I don't know, I might be tied with alcohol a fair bit of like, what I've experienced a lot in my life not drinking alcohol is like, a lot of people, the pressure you get put on when you're younger, particularly when you're more vulnerable to it, to drink. And if you don't drink, you fucking pussy, like, what's wrong with you? And like, so I don't know, it might be to do with that whole scene.
Yeah, man, isn't it so bizarre? Like, I want to fucking see you mad with that goon sack. You're going to be fucking this chick tonight. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And there's this. It's so difficult to not kind of, to resist that when you're 15.
Yeah.
And like the big kids at the back of the bus are telling you what to do. Like.
For sure. Well, not even 15. It's also like my whole adult life. Like I've obviously travelled a shitload with the band, but I've also done so much travelling on my own, like surf trips and different trips around the world. And it's the alcohol one, man, is huge. It's actually like, I feel like it's the next big focus that people will focus on because it's not really talked about enough. How it's every country, every culture, every class, alcohol is ubiquitous in. It's like basically everywhere you go in the world, you meet someone. You meet a girl, you meet a guy, like, hey mate, you meet a couple, you meet dudes on a surf trip, whatever, let's go get a beer. You meet chicks, we'll go out for a drink. You meet, like, you go to a family's house, you have a drink. Like the amount of situations I've been in where someone invites you for a drink and you just, oh no, thanks, I don't drink. And it's like turned into a big awkward thing. And being able to like see that from the outside, it's like you're basically a weirdo, an outsider if you don't drink alcohol, which I think is a full problem. Like if you don't smoke cigarettes, no one cares. If you don't do drugs, usually no one cares. If you don't drink alcohol, what's wrong with you? Like, is everything all right? Like I used to have to make up stories like, oh, my dad was an alcoholic or something. Otherwise, people just like, they don't get it. Like, what do you mean? You don't drink alcohol? And you just say, make something up. Otherwise, they just keep heckling you. So, yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah, there's a weird shame around it.
Yeah.
Wow, dude. Like, but I guess when what you're saying about like if you take away that alcohol, and I think in your experience of being off alcohol since you were 16, like you don't have the Band-Aid solution of a beer to kind of, because I feel like alcohol helps, like guys can become vulnerable when they have a bunch of beers.
Yeah.
But if you don't have alcohol, like you have, I think, more space to kind of just become vulnerable more naturally and just to kind of go there and not escape pain through the bottle.
Yeah, well, that's true. One of the only times I ever almost considered drinking was so when I was 22, my best mate died And then at the same time, I was going through a breakup with my first girlfriend, which is always the hardest one. So it was the first time in my life I actually experienced anything like heavy, like, because I had a pretty good childhood and I'd never really had anyone close die. So I was proper like going through it, like, you know, the whole depression and all that stuff. And I remember a few days after he died and I was fully just deep in it. I just thought, I just want to escape. I want to escape from this. And I thought, if I understood at that moment drinking to escape it, but then I actually looked at it and thought, no, that's a sign of weakness to me. Like, if I just get drunk to escape reality, then that's not being responsible. Like, that's not the answer. So I got through it without doing that, but I saw that pull and that option, but I didn't go there, and I dealt with it my own way. But I feel like, you know, everyone knows it's not going to help anything. It's only going to make the situation worse. You get drunk, it's a depressant. The next day you wake up twice as bad, and you got to face it anyway.
No, it's great, man. Like, I didn't really realize that you're abstaining from certain things for this amount of time. It's pretty inspiring to me to see someone on that path for so long.
Yeah, well, it's just normal
and consider
for me.
the opportunity and the travel that you've been able to do, and
Yeah.
especially for me coming from the Christian world where that's really normal, but it's because of your faith and your religion.
Yeah.
But you're free to do whatever you want. You
Yeah.
know? But you're
Yeah.
like, this path works for me, and
Yeah, for sure.
it's beautiful, man.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just something I've always liked to do. And when I was young, stopping drinking, and then that was the age where my friends were, you know, getting in fights, getting arrested, and I was watching from the outside, just thinking, this isn't something I need to do. Really, it's not really, doesn't really offer me anything.
Dude, thanks so much for sharing. I've been journeying through just some of your stuff today, and it's been really inspiring for me seeing a bunch of the projects that you've been involved with, especially to do with the Tarkine.
Oh yeah, that was a sick one.
I had a friend that was part of some of that campaign, I think last year, not this one, but just around creating awareness about the situation in Tassie. It's brutal, man. Was there a moment in your life where you felt like activism became a bit more of a reality for you, and you were like, wow, I do care about the planet? And was there a time where climate change became more of a conversation? And I kind of want to go there a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I've always cared a lot about the environment. I think growing up here, being a surfer, you're attached to the environment, and you know, you have an intrinsic kind of love for it. But it wasn't till probably 3 or 4 years ago when it really became something I was focused on. It's one of those things that it's like such a big problem. It's kind of overwhelming. It can be fully overwhelming because there's so many issues with it. And to be honest, I went through a phase where I was feeling really guilty about the band, like, because I was really against, you know, fossil fuels and mining and all that stuff, yet we're traveling the world, flying around, using pyro, doing this doing this job where really at the end of the day it's not really, it's got no value to society, you know what I mean? Like, it's good putting on a show, it's entertainment, but really, like, it's just a big mass. The whole industry I'm talking about is a really big waste of resources when you think of it. And I came to a bit of a crossroads with it, going, fuck, like, what can you do? So it's kind of my way of kind of justifying it was trying to use our platform to spread the message and try to counteract our impact through other ways by, like, offsetting our emissions and donating and being involved in campaigns and things like that. But still, it's pretty hard to be a modern human and not have an impact. It's basically impossible.
Yeah, dude. And then I've even found it for me, like, talking about, you know, plastic freeness, and then I had a big involvement in the Fight for the Bike campaign last year, but I was still flying all over Australia for these campaigns. Yeah. And I'd have people that would hit me up like, bro, your emissions, what's going on, dude? Yeah. You got this message. And it didn't happen all the time, but it did kind of haunt me a little bit. But At the moment, I think we're just doing the best that we can.
Yeah. Do you know what? That Greta Thunberg,
Dude.
she really, she's amazing, but she really, for me and for a lot of people, was the first to really put the obvious together. It's like everyone who was fighting for the environment, even like Leonardo DiCaprio, who's one of my heroes, he's obviously does so good for the environment, but then he'll fly around in a private jet. And it's the same thing as what we were doing and everyone was doing. And it was she was really the first one to say, look what you're doing, not just like what everything else. It's individual level. Yeah. And it's like such an obvious thing, but the way she said it, that was kind of one of the things that got me.
She stood by it, man. She sailed to America.
Yeah, she's actually, she fucking...
Just does trains.
She walked the walk,
walks the walk. And because in Tasmania, you guys ran a bunch.
Yeah, I've been getting
Tell us about that project.
It was just it combined environmentalism with something I'm into, which is like ultra running. So it was a great campaign to be involved with. It was the idea was this amazing part of the world, this forest called the Tarkine, was getting logged, and they had a idea down there, genius idea, to do an ultra run through it. So the people who were fighting for it actually were right in the middle of it and got to see it, and we got to go and see their camps where they're protecting, the logging, protecting from the logging, and yeah, it was amazing. There was so many good people down there. Patagonia sponsored it. It was a beautiful run, even though it was pissing down that day and freezing. But
was Bob there? Bob Brown?
Yeah, I got to meet Bob. He was a legend.
Yeah.
And there was a few. Peter Wilson, he was down there.
Like Senator Surfer.
Yeah.
He's such a good guy.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Big hug. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
I love what he's doing.
Yeah. It was funny. I felt like I was chatting to Bob and Peter, and then you have to edit this.
By the way, guys, Peter is Senator for the Greens.
Yeah.
Tasmania?
Yeah, Senator for Green Tasmania.
Yeah.
And then who's the Greens leader? Fuck, I just had a mind blank. Do you know who the Greens leader is?
Oh, dude.
Adam Bant.
Yeah, Adam Bant.
Yeah. So it was, Peter, Adam Bant and Bob, and then I was talking to them, and I felt like a groupie. I was like, yeah, I'm stoked to meet these guys. I got like a photo with them and stuff. Yeah. So they were my heroes, dudes actually doing work on the front line.
Yeah, dude. When you talk to Peter, man, he told me, he's like, Billy, every time I fly into Canberra, I go to Parliament House, it's like going to war.
Yeah.
It's a heavy presence. Like,
for sure.
Huge spiritual battle. Like, it's crazy. But you see his passion for Tasmania, like in his eyes. Like, it's pretty powerful.
For sure. Yeah, he'd have a frustrating life, man. That's the life. You sign up to a life of politics, you're going to sign up to frustration, because it'd just be really hard to take.
Yeah, man. And so you've been running ultrathons for quite a while now?
Oh, not that long. My first one was this one a couple of years ago. It was 150 Ks. Dude. I had 2 weeks prep, and it was brutal. It was up in North Queensland.
2 weeks prep?
Yeah, because we were on tour in Europe, actually, and then my mate just kept heckling me because it was a Teams event. It was 2 weeks after we got home.
What's a Teams event?
Teams.
Oh,
it was
Teams
event. So it was just me and another mate, and he just kept heckling me, and I said, "Oh, fuck it, let's just do it then." Yeah. And then, but the good thing is drumming keeps me fit. I've got a good baseline fitness. So then if there's some sort of event, a couple of weeks of intense training, and then I'm good to go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And so have you been involved in any other projects as well? Like, you were going to the Fight for the Bike paddle outs? Yeah,
all the paddle outs. Yeah. I got involved mainly in Byron ones a while ago. I started this thing, this is like 5 years ago, called Byron Young Residents Alliance. That was really cool for a few years. We fought off this big development called West Byron, because I basically went to these meetings when we started opposing this stuff, and it was me and about 10 people over the age of 60. And I was like, fuck, a lot of young people care about this stuff, but they're not represented. So my idea was I got a lot of younger people together, and we had one unified voice, and it was pretty powerful. We put on like a big rally, and that had some momentum for a while, but true to form to young people, it kind of fizzled out because we all had other stuff going on. But yeah, I mean, I go through phases, man. It's I really care about it, but it's also overwhelming because it's never ending.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful though that you're not speaking with a language of nihilism and like giving up, or because it is overwhelming, and we're like, it's almost like we're on this sinking ship. The car's already gone over the cliff. With climate change. But I actually wrote a song like called Oblivion, which is saying I don't want to see oblivion. Like I want to at least give this a try. And I think it's really inspiring seeing guys like yourself that are still putting your heart into it, and you know, and stepping into these projects and just using your platform. Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's actually, Greta said something amazing once that really resonated with me. It said, the bigger your platform, the bigger your responsibility. So I was like, yeah, that's true. So the more people you reach. But I've come to peace with it a little bit with the all the environmental stuff, because it really was getting to me for a while, like overwhelmingly. And then I took one step back further or deeper, however you want to say it, and I just came to terms with the fact that, you know, on this planet that we live on, there's been at least five well-known extinctions where life is absolutely flourishing with all these amazing life forms, all this stuff going on the planet, and then boom, something's happened, and then the majority of the life dies, and then it flourishes again over millions of years, comes back, happens again, obviously, to the dinosaurs. Think of all the amazing beauty and different life forms there would have been, and then boom, gone again, and then come back. And it just basically made me realise, if humans' destiny is to take ourselves and most of the life form on the planet away, it's obviously tragic, but life will continue. It will everything will be destroyed. On a molecular level, cells,
soil. There'll be
Yeah.
plants, birds, there'll be things that continue. We'll be gone, there'll be, you know, all this destruction, but then life will continue for, you know. And then I came to peace with that, and I thought, you know, in the bigger picture, we're just a very small part of the history of this planet, you know. It's not like, we're not the be-all, end-all. When people say the world will end, it won't end. The human world may end, and all the other animals, but life will continue. And that's what we are. We're an expression of life. Yeah. That's all humans are.
Yeah, dude. Oh, just to sit with that for a second. I heard a similar notion at this conference 2 years ago called New Kind. And it was just, he said the same thing. Like if humans go this path continually, then it'll be the end for humans. But, you know, cockroaches will live on, like matter will continue.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and it might just take another, you know, 13.7 billion years for a humanoid, an anatomical human to come back or whatever, but like life continues. Yeah. Yeah, with or without us. Yeah, man, talking about the planet. Yeah, man, how long have you been plant-based for?
Went vegetarian about 5 years ago, and been vegan for 2.5 years. Yeah. And that was purely ethical. Yeah. I'm not going to pretend that I didn't like the taste of dairy or meat, but I just saw one too many documentaries, and it's just unavoidable now that it's you know, it's not good for the planet, it's not good for animals. Yeah. And I just felt like out of all the decisions to make, like it's pretty hard to live not going in a car. It's pretty hard to live not catching a plane, but not eating meat is a pretty easy sacrifice. Yeah, it's not something we need. And I'm the fittest I've ever been by far. I feel great mentally, physically, and so for me, it's amazing, and I don't miss it at all. Yeah,
it's great, man. I feel like my alignment as someone who desires to be a sacred activist, like eating plant-based and with my ethics and my values, I feel so much more like whole with what I believe in. Like I don't believe in violence on other people and other animals, like for my plate of food. Like
Yeah.
for me, that just seems crazy. For me, that there's like cognitive dissonance there of like,
Yeah,
I'm
100%.
loving my mate, fucking loving my dog,
Yeah, it
and
is.
then I'm slaughtering this pig.
Yeah, it's just undeniable now. It's really
Yeah.
the heart of, it's the core of ignorance. Like, I don't want to preach about it, but if anyone eats meat, like, that's totally fine. But just as long as they acknowledge it, like, don't
Yeah.
hide from it. Like, I used to do that. Like, you'd see like a vegan friend post something like of a chicken factory or something, and you just turn it off and look away because
Yeah.
you don't want to see it. But that's the reality.
Yeah.
And if you can really look at that stuff and stomach it and accept, okay, that's what's going on, and I'm supporting that, then that's fine as long as you made that decision. But most people don't have even the connection with what they're eating and a life.
It's invisible to their experience.
It is, yeah, and that's what the companies make it as. Like in Woolies, you're buying a piece of meat. If there was a full cow there, most people, if there was a full cow getting killed, most people wouldn't be buying it, but they don't see that process.
Yeah. No, it's great, man. It's great that you're feeling great.
Oh, yeah, I'm feeling so good.
Dude, I only found out that the general store was vegetarian like probably 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And I was just like, huge, but it hasn't always been.
Nah, so the partner that I started it with, he ate meat and I was vegan, and we, at the start I wanted to be vegetarian or vegan, and then he wanted meat, so we just had some meat and some vegan options, and then as time went by, I kind of convinced him, and basically he just saw that was the way it was going. After that documentary, The Game Changers, which really did change the game.
Arnie.
Yeah. Well, it just became so convincing.
Yeah.
And then we're still, the odd, every now and then there might be someone comes in and asks for bacon or something and gets over it. But
Do you
most
feel
of
like
the time,
the energy's changed at all since you guys went like
yeah,
vegetarian?
for sure.
Yeah.
I reckon.
There's such a warmth in there, man. Like, it's my favourite. I
Yeah.
love going to the Jenny. There's such a good spirit about the place, and you can see it on all your staff's faces. Like, I feel like the whole experience is like an immersion in like life. And yeah, and for me personally, if there was like every other person's having bacon and eggs for their coffee, like I feel like it would definitely for me, because I have been on this journey for like 10 years at least with plant-based eating. It's like, it's a different energy.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, man, I'm stoked with it because... Yeah,
Props
thanks,
to
mate.
you, brother.
Cheers. Yeah, it's a good place, and basically that was the whole thing. I wanted a place where I can enjoy hanging out at. So I hang there every day, not to work, just to go and hang there and eat food. And I'm
I'll
like,
often
fuck,
see you
this is
there
pretty
working,
sick.
doing some things.
Yeah, it's not the best place to work because I know so many people, so I get distracted. But yeah, it's a good vibe, man. I'm actually proud of it, and it's just so weird. I never thought I would own a cafe. It just kind of like, it's one of those things that happened, and then we look back and just think, how the fuck did that happen? So many weird circumstances came together for that to happen, and now it just feels right.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to finalise the no meat thing, I'm super stoked that we went that way, because we're busier than we've ever been, and now, like, instead of ordering, X amount of hundreds of kilos of bacon and chicken or whatever every year we would have been doing, that's just gone. We're supporting local farmers that are actually farming vegetables, and still have eggs. But I don't have a problem with eggs. I don't eat them, but I don't have a really moral problem. Got a local farm, free range chickens. So
No, it's great, man. Do you feel like there was a time, because like this podcast is all about rebirth and rechilding, rewilding, and curiosity, and do you feel like there was a particular time in your life where you started to delve a bit deeper in the spiritual realm? Or like, I know that you love practicing yoga. I'm assuming that you're into meditation.
Yep.
Breath work.
Yep.
These are just, Byron assumptions.
Yeah.
But obviously we're in a yoga room right now, so it's all kind of one ecosystem of practice. But yeah, man, like, was there a time that you became more interested in the inner work realm?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, so I have been interested in that for a long time. And it was weird looking back. I really feel like I was semi-searching, like a lot of people. Like, I was into like philosophy for a long time, and
Stoic philosophy.
I was just into like reading different kinds of books, and but
That's
like
great, man.
yeah, but I really it kind of led up to this moment. So I guess I'll delve into this story, but like the way that it was kind of pretty life changing for me. So I was into yoga and meditation, but not like super into it. I didn't really get it that much. But then there's this one tour about 3 or 4 years ago where it was like one of the biggest tours we had ever done at the time, and it was the first tour actually we were going using the cage, the upside down drum cage. So I was doing like this big upside down drum solo thing, and it was the first time like all the attention was going on me, and it was all this pressure. So I've never had a problem with like being nervous on stage or anything like that at all. But this particular tour, I put a lot of pressure on myself. Anyway, as the tour went on, like I made the odd mistake where usually I just would have been fine with it. But that particular tour, I was like, fuck. Every time I made a mistake, I fully beat myself up. I'd go to bed at night thinking, fuck, you fucked it up. And like I was really pressuring myself. And then the next day I'd be thinking about that part, going, you better not fuck it up, And then I would fuck it up. And then it got worse. It started snowballing. And then we played this show to like, it was a big one. It was like 30,000 people, and it was getting live streamed to 1 million people in Germany. And then, so I was like, I've got to be like, I can't fuck up this one. And the thoughts are just running through my head. You're going to fuck it up. What if you fuck this beat up? And then I fucked up like so many bits that I'd usually just not even I've played them 1,000 times. And then by the end of the tour, I was like proper anxiety, like going onto the stage. And I was like, I couldn't play bits that I've been playing for 15 years. And like the head noise was like insane. I'd never experienced anything like it. Like proper anxiety, like nearly a fucking panic attack. I was just didn't want to be on the stage. Every part would come up, I'd be coming up to that was slightly difficult. It would be, you're going to fuck this up. And then I'd go, and I was just so shit. And I had to talk to the band about it and say, look guys, something's going on. I don't know what, but they were sweet about it. So anyway, I just thought it was physical. I thought something was going on, like physical. I got home, I saw like, what are they called? I got massages, I saw doctors. They said, nothing's wrong with your body, totally fine. Went to play, I couldn't play. Like I was really shit at drumming. And then in like 2 months, we had this American tour coming up. And then like I'd literally go to bed at night just worrying and thinking about, fuck, what's going to happen? I'm not going to have it. I'm going to have to leave the band. I'm going to get kicked out. And all these thoughts. And it was the first time in my life, like I was just proper had like anxiety about something. Never really experienced that. And then anyway, I saw like 3 different psychologists. They didn't really, like sports psychologists, they didn't do anything for me really. I was just like, and then the time was running down. And I was like, there was like 3 weeks left, and I'd go in my basement, in my room, in my studio, and I couldn't play the songs. Like my confidence was that low. And I was like thinking, fuck, am I going to like, what's going to happen here? And I like had a meeting with the band, and they were really cool about it still. Anyway, I was just searching, and then as it was like...
What kind of time period is this? Is this over like a 6-month period or something?
No, 2 or 3 months.
2 or 3 months,
yeah. And I was reading books, and I was basically just...
Deep diving, yeah.
Looking, and I like, it was getting worse. So anyway, I went on YouTube, but like it was like 10 days before this tour, and I was actually contemplating like, I'm going to have to tell the band I can't do it, because like the thought of going on stage like fully frightened me, and I was like just in a really bad headspace. And anyway, I was just searching, and I found it was an Eckhart Tolle video, and it was like I had my first like insight. It really clicked, and it said something like, if you realize thoughts are just thoughts, they have no power over you. But if you take them to be reality, they can destroy you. And it kind of like clicked, and I just basically realized I'm just believing my thoughts. That's all that's happening. And it was like the first kind of aha moment of this. That was the beginning of the journey that like changed my life tenfold, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me in the end. But it was a long journey from then. So from there, I started.
So realizing that you are not your thoughts.
You're not your thoughts.
You're not your emotions.
That's the big. That was the big one.
Bedrock.
Yeah, and then so I started. All I started to do was observe my thoughts rather than be them, and that was the very start of it. And so I read Eckhart Tolle books and started delving into more spiritual teachers of different books, and it just every time I was reading these books and I started meditating more, it just started clicking. I started observing my thoughts. I'd go to play drums, and then here come the thoughts, you're going to fuck up, you're not going to be able to do it. And rather than feel it, believe it, and go, fuck, I'd go, oh, there they are. There's the thoughts. What have you got to say for me now? And then I'd watch them, and then I'd play, and then I'd come up to a bit where the thoughts would say, you're going to fuck it up. And I'd be like, oh, there they are. And then I'd just play it. And I just started laughing, going, I've just been believing my fucking mind is just giving me this shit, and I've been eating it. I've been believing it, and it was proper life-changing. But it wasn't that easy, because you still, always at the start particularly, it pulls you in. So there almost was like a game where my goal was to observe the mind, and your mind's goal or your thoughts was to get you to give it importance and believe it. And so every now and then I'd be like, fuck, and I'd go, oh, it's got me. I'm believing, I'm in again. And I'd pull back and start observing. And as you observe more, the power basically fizzles away. And so we did this tour, this American tour, powerful. And we'd go on stage. We went on stage for the first time, and just the thoughts, you're gonna fucking what? And I'll just go, yeah, here you go. Like, give me anything you got, like any thoughts, and I'll just be observing them. You'd feel like the emotions, but it was all fine, because I was observing it all. Play, and then I still had a bit of it in me. I wasn't perfect, but that was the road out, the way out. So. Yeah. And then I got through that tour, and then it slowly just dissolved. But from then, it was, like I said, that whole thing has changed my life, because now, like years later, I've learnt so much. And I just, like a lot of them say, like Eckhart Tolle, who's like one of my favourite teachers of that whole thing, says like, it's always from suffering that this starts. Like if you're just going along your life and it's up and down and kind of normal, you're not going to be compelled to go deeper and do that.
Yeah,
it's always from a bad experience where you perceive to be bad, and that's when you grow and you start the journey. So yeah, man, it's proper life changing. And
how long ago was that?
About 3 years ago.
Dude.
Yeah, and then obviously meditating is a big part of that, because that's really the way the meditation I do is that you're sitting there, and it's I've been very scientific minded my whole life. I hate the word spirituality, because I feel like there's so many, like as soon as you say spiritual, like I'm spiritual,
it's very triggering.
People think it's like
guru meditating, levitating,
and chakras, and like it just has this weird
classic Byron.
Yeah, and people identify with that. So it's more like what I have experienced. It's not like something you have to believe in, or like it's actual facts. It's like it's psychology. Like you're sitting there, and your mind is still. Then a thought comes. You see it come. You see it do its thing, and then it goes, and then you're still there. You see another thought come and go, but the stillness, the space, the consciousness that is aware of the thought is always there, and that's your essence of who you truly are, and that's the life-changing part, and it's actually ultimate freedom, because now I can have anything, and I've actually used that on running a lot. When I'm running and I'm 25 k's deep, and your mind comes in and says, you're going to get injured, you should stop, you're not going to be able to do it. There's two options there. You can either, the common one is to argue against the thought. A thought comes and says that, and so David Goggins is like a famous runner, and his thing is he would argue against that thought and say, I'm the fucking baddest motherfucker in the world, I can do anything, no one stops me, and it produces incredible results because he's an incredible athlete. But the problem with that is you're just inflating your ego. Basically, your fight, a negative thought comes and you're arguing with that thought. But the other option is to let it do its thing. It comes up and says, you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to have to stop. And you're like, oh, there you are.
It's kind of like traffic.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
What else have you got to say? And then when you don't give it importance, it just goes, and it's gone. And then you're just running.
Yeah.
And it's just you running and it's totally peaceful. And then maybe 10 minutes later, another thought comes up. And then you go, oh, yeah. And then it's gone. Rather than if you argue with it, it just is there. The voice basically gets magnified.
Yeah, you're feeding it.
Yeah. So, man, it's a full journey, but it's like, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah, man, I feel like I'm with you. Like, I think you can read a lot of psychology books, a lot of philosophy. For me, growing up and even being a Christian minister, like, it's always about, praying to God, trying to think your way out of bad shit. Like, oh, I want to kill that person. And so you're like, oh, well, I'm going to try not to think about killing that person. It's just kind of like you're always trying to pray about it. God, forgive me for hating that person. And then you think about the Bible, you go to back, God, I'm sorry again. And you're thinking about your thoughts. You're thinking obviously all the time about how bad you are and how much you need redemption. You're coming back. There's just this feedback loop and you're just feeding those thoughts. Yeah. I would drive myself crazy, and I'm like, fuck, everything's beautiful in my life, but like, why can I not experience deep joy? Yeah. Why can I not be present? Yeah. Why am I still comparing myself with my best friend? Like, why am I feeding these thoughts? And I'm with you, bro. Like, I feel like the conscious path lets you embrace the void and you can observe your feelings and they're just there. Yeah. And they pass through you like you're a porous rock. Yeah, for sure. At the beach, it's just cruising through.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a river flow.
100%. A really good quote that I've heard, I think it was Deepak Chopra say.
He's great.
Was a positive mind is good, but a still mind is better. Yeah. And so, like, anxiety, fear, worry, doubt, anger, all those things can only happen from thoughts. Like, anxiety is from thoughts. So if you really understand that, then you realize all that stuff is from thoughts, and not just thoughts. It's not thoughts, it's believing your thoughts. So when you really get that, then all those things I just mentioned, they have no power on you because they come up. And Eckhart Tolle's biggest thing is, he's got many messages, but one of his biggest thing is there is only now. There's only the present moment. Most people thinking is always the past or the future. So if you're present, there's a quote that he says that's, look at this moment and tell me what problem you have. And there's never a problem in this moment because a problem is something you're thinking about. It's like, I've got to go do this, or this just happened, or I don't want this to happen, or whatever it is. So if you're properly present and you're just there still, then life becomes so much easier, so much less problematic because you're not arguing against reality. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah, it's not this war against reality. It's
just
this
that's
embracing of everything around and in and this and.
But
it's so good.
It's difficult, man. It's like because I've seen me
all that programming the last
it's conditioning
30 years of our life.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's a lifetime of conditioning.
We're conditioned to consume products, to be married by a certain age, to have this, and to always need something that we don't have. Yeah. Constantly. Yeah. And we're programmed to regret the past and but to embrace now. Yeah. Dude, that book changed my life. The Power of Now.
Yeah, that one. And
that was a game changer.
Yeah, it's
both of them,
so good,
hand in hand. Bro, I realise you've got to take off. You've got a dinner.
No, that's all right. I'm happy. Let's keep chatting for a bit more.
Dude.
But yeah, it's also...
You're like, man, you're waxing, man. You're waxing lyrical. Like, all this charm and goodness is just oozing out.
Yeah, well, like I said, I only talk about this with one or two mates who are on the path because what I've realised is if you talk about this stuff to someone who has no idea, you basically sound mad. It's actually it's crazy. It's so insane to watch because just as an example, I had a friend in a big band, a drummer as well, and he came to me just after I'd gotten over my whole thing, and he said, man, I'm having this thing, I can't drum anymore, like I'm going up to stage, even sound check, I've gotten like anxiety. And I said, oh mate, I've just experienced the same thing, this is what it is. And I told him, I said, all that's happening is you're believing these thoughts about what's going on. And I explained it, and I could see him looking at me in a weird way. And then I told him this stuff that helped me, and then he basically just said something totally different. Yeah, I might do this and that, and didn't get it. And I could tell when he was looking at me that he was having thoughts saying, what the fuck's he talking about? This is bullshit. Wow. But that's another thought that he's believing. See, he's so like identified with thought, he couldn't even see that thought was the exact thing he had to escape. You know what I mean? Because most people are their thoughts. Like there's no getting away. Yeah, and that's the one really interesting thing.
It's their identity.
Yeah, that's one interesting thing with meditation when I first started it. So the first thing when I read about
But with that guy, did you guys follow up that conversation? Was there any...
He quit the band.
No way.
Yeah, he quit the band. He couldn't do it. Yeah.
That's such a travesty.
And I don't know, there's obviously other ways.
Yeah.
But like I told him, and he couldn't get that side of it. But yeah, the crazy thing is that's the number one thing out of all of it is just start watching your mind, and you realize how mad you are, or how mad your mind is. There's first person, third person, it's talking to itself. Yeah. It's fucking crazy, and you got no idea. Like I remember when I used to, just before this, I'd go surfing. I'm at the most beautiful day ever. There's dolphins jumping, there's good waves. And I'd be daydreaming for like 15 minutes about like some story or a movie I watched or something I've got to do tomorrow, and I wasn't there. Like, and now, if you're there, you're seeing it all, you're hearing it all, you're fully immersed in it. And obviously a thought will come here and there, but before I just wasn't even aware, and I'd just go, oh, I've been daydreaming for 15 minutes, like in a different world. And that's what I was going to say about...
It's crazy, man. With that, I feel like for me at the start of last year when I went through my crazy breakup with fiance and everything, I started going inner instead of just going, I'm going to fucking get on Tinder and just slay heaps of chicks and go on a big fishing trip. I was just like, no, I'm going to start running. I'm going to start doing breath work. I started listening to Eckhart Tolle and this conscious psychologist. And when I started doing this inner work, I would fucking walk outside and I would see a table. And I'd be like, that's a fucking beautiful table. And like certain birds, I wouldn't be judging about what species they were. But I'd just be like, wow, colours, shapes. And I'd be like, wow, the essence of life. Yeah. It was like I was on this crazy trip.
Yeah, it actually is.
I would
that's
like
what it feels
hug
like.
my mates. And I would surf and it'd be 1 foot. And on shore, I'd be like, this is a sick surf. I'd just be so present. Yeah. A whole different level of presence.
For sure.
That wasn't conditional.
Yeah, exactly.
On what was happening around me.
Exactly, yeah. I remember one of the first times it happened to me, actually, I was surfing the pass, which I'd done 10,000 times growing up. It was a beautiful sunset. And I was walking back up, and I just started practicing mindfulness, and I just looked at everything without thinking about it. And all of a sudden I was looking, and everything just seemed so much brighter, clearer. And it was like I was seeing it for the first time. Because before, you're looking at something and your mind is commenting on it constantly. Like you even you look at a beautiful sunset and your mind's saying, oh, that's an amazing sunset. Look how good that is. Oh, that's so good. It's as good as the one I saw. But it's fucking non-stop. It's like you're not...
Constant comparison.
You're not seeing it for what it is. You're seeing it through the eyes of this conditioned mind. And when you can actually look, it almost like it goes from lo-fi to hi-fi, and everything just becomes fully alive. And it's like it's just a totally different experience.
Oh, dude.
But what I was going to say, one interesting one with meditating, when I first started, mindfulness meditation, and I read about, so the technique is just observe your thoughts and let them come and go. It's really funny because you are sitting there and I'd be like, observe my thoughts, and then a thought would come and it'd be like, don't forget to send that email later, and then I'd think, okay, yep, there's that thought. And then another thought would come, got to do this tomorrow. And I'd be like, okay, yep, there's another thought. And then I didn't realise there was the thoughts coming, and then there was thoughts judging those thoughts. And then after a while, I would go, this is boring. Like, this isn't actually doing anything, and I'd get agitated and stop. But that's also another thought. Like, there's layers upon layers of thought.
It's the onion.
Yeah, and then so it takes a long time to realise how identified with thoughts you really are. And then when you get into the space of thoughtlessness, it's literally the most peaceful thing in the world. You're there completely conscious, completely alive, but you're not thinking about anything. You're just there. And so it's the only thing I can say.
The Beatles had that lyric from the Revolver album. It says, "Surrender to the void."
Yeah,
and it's beautiful, man.
That's
Just
good.
the embrace of this and spaciousness. And I think with that, man, as well, like for me, leaving Sydney, which is highly like the conveyor belt of capitalism, everyone's doing shit all the time and having to feel like they need to be on this. I've got to be at that. Oh man, what's she wearing? Oh, and then. But like to come to Byron and to physically also feel that spaciousness helped me to grow my spaciousness as well in my heart.
Yeah.
And I can imagine you waking up to this landscape and it almost cradles that experience.
It does,
as well.
yeah. It does, 100%. It's not vital, but nature really helps.
Yeah.
Like, and that's one of the biggest things on tour when we're touring Europe or America. Every day, part of my daily routine would be I'd look on a map. It's difficult in America actually, and I'd find a bit of green on the map, whether it's a park or a state forest or something.
Yeah.
And I'll just go for a walk in nature. I'll just sit there and just listen for a bit. And like it sounds so, to someone like I guess a city person who's removed, it sounds so like hippie or weird, but like otherwise you just at the end of a month-long tour in the city every day, just get home and I just feel so like heavy and just not right. You just kind of need that spaciousness every day.
Yeah.
And obviously nature's the spot for it. There's just, and that's why obviously one of the reasons Byron's so good. There's the social stuff going on, but there's so many spots to get that space in nature as well.
Yeah. No, man, I noticed something about you. Like when I was at the general store the first time, I think I connected. Then the second time I bought a board off you.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think you do have a glow about you. And I think there is sometimes when people are on this path of inner work, like it's a felt thing. You know, how present people are. Yeah. Like dudes being able to look each other in the eye and just, sick. And it's not just through sarcasm. Yeah. You know, it's real. It's,
for sure,
know, and it just affects every part of your life.
It does,
when you commit to the work.
100%, yeah. It's opened my whole life up. I used to be pretty like hard out atheist of like there's nothing, there's just atoms like
there's
really,
no meaning. Yeah,
there's no meaning. We're just here through evolution, but it's the whole thing. It's changed my perspective a lot, and it's just like one big thing I've thought like what up. So one thing that's kind of very obvious is there's like, it's hard to even name, but let's just call it life energy, like the thing that pumps your blood, digests your food, heals your wounds, all that stuff. It's just a life energy. And then you look at a tree or any other living thing, any animal, and you realise that is the exact same life energy that they've got. And then the last step is, this is the one that most people can't really get, is you are that. You are not a separate thing to that. You are that life energy, the same as everything else. And that's kind of the essence of like, you know, all those teachings. But the
connection of all things.
Yeah, the connection. It's not something like it's so weird. It's
non-dual.
Different stages in your life, because I've read that stuff living in Byron my whole life, and I used to look at it and go, fucking hippie shit. Yeah. But then you get to a point where you actually get it,
and you experience suffering.
You experience it. It's just like the timing's right. It's like a I think, what is it? The saying is like it's it's like an apple off a tree. Like it just falls when it's ready. Like when you're ready, you're gonna get it. But like, yeah, it's really.
And when you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's too good, man. Because like the next time that you're going through a suffering season, like you go through a breakup or you lose your job or a business venture doesn't work out, you can observe those shameful thoughts.
Yeah.
Like the second time that Chrissy and I broke up, and like I was able to, in my conscious self, observe those shameful feelings and like, fuck, it's happened to me again. I could observe those things, but I wasn't those things.
Yeah.
They passed through me.
Yeah.
And I could wake up the next day, go for a run, go for surf, and still be present.
Yeah. Allow them to be there.
Yeah.
That's really one of the biggest ones as well, is allowing things to be as they are. And that includes, one of the main things, it includes your thoughts. Allowing, like if you try and stop, that's what I did at the start, like
fight it.
Yeah, I tried to like, okay, I want to still mind. I've got to stop my thoughts, and then I'd come and I'd get frustrated. But then you realise it's just allow them to be, allow other people to be as they are. That's a big one, and allow everything to be as it is. And that's really one of the biggest life-changing ones. There's a guy, Krishnamurti, he's this old like spiritual teacher guy that Eckhart told the story once in a talk that I saw him. In America, we actually, in the middle of this stuff, we were doing an American tour, and Eckhart was talking in Houston the same night as we played this show, and I bought a ticket. I could only watch half of it, and I was watching it, and it was that good, and then I had to quickly get an Uber, and then we went on stage, so I went from an Eckhart Tolle concert to a metal concert. But anyway, this is one thing that stayed with me, and it's this guy Krishnamurti. And he's the spiritual teacher his whole life. He's had all this following and had this profound insights. And towards the end of his life, he did a talk and he said, "Do you want to know my secret?" And everyone's like, "Oh, what is it?" And he said, "I don't mind what happens." And then they said,
in his funny German voice.
Yeah, that's this Indian guy saying, "I don't."
Oh, this guy. Saying.
Yeah. He was telling a story about this guy. He said, "I don't mind what happens." And really, if you don't mind what happens in your life, there's not really any problems, because like COVID is a good example. Like everyone in the world basically was tested, and some people got pushed in. People got pushed in all different directions. And for me, kind of trying to embody a lot of these teachings, it's like, the whole year's cancelled, not making any income this year, like all your plans. And obviously you could take that many ways, you could freak out, but I was like, it is as it is. And it was just fine. It was like, oh, that's what's happening, and that's fine. And it just wasn't even an issue, because I was like, oh, okay. But if you're attached to what you want to happen, then you're going to be resisting. Oh, fuck, I can't, I need that. What am I going to do? You're up at night worrying, you're depressed, you're freaking out. But if you just say, this is what's happening, this is what's going on, and you go with it, it's like, it just makes life so much easier.
Yeah. And like coming back to that voice that was in your head, you're not like fucking over your mind all the time with hatred things towards yourself.
Yeah.
Like when you were making those mistakes, there was things that you were saying to yourself that you would never say to someone else.
Exactly, yeah.
But that was just a feedback loop that was continuing. You go to sleep thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Even last night, like I probably had a coffee too late yesterday, and I'm pretty sensitive to coffee. And I had like a lie to sleep, and I woke up at like 4 a.m. I was like, oh, I can't sleep. And I was observing these like hateful thoughts that I could be saying to myself. But coming back to like, look, it is what it is, and I'm just going to like be with my situation, accept it. Yeah. And I was still able to have an incredible day. And even coming into this interview, like sometimes when I'm doing an interview, I'm like, fuck, how prepared should I be? Oh, what about this gear? Have I got enough XLRs? Da, da, da. But I just had a minute in the car and I just breathed a bit, and it's been a sick chat, man.
Yeah, nice one, mate.
Yeah, man, flowy, and you guys have headlined Varkin and done all these incredible things, huge sold out tours, made documentaries, but you're on an incredible journey, brother, and I just want to acknowledge, what you're doing, and thanks, the impact that you're having on people, and and the way that you've inspired so many thousands of people through the years, and Yeah. So
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
yeah.
It's good to like talk, I guess, real talk, because a lot of time interviews are pretty superficial
Yeah.
and just same old shit.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you reading at the moment, just as we close?
What am I reading? I
Or are
actually
you doing an audible book?
no. I read a lot. I always read like 2 or 3 books at a time. I actually I've gone through different kind of authors, but at the moment I've just been getting into Alan Watts.
Dude, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you read
Insecure-
The Way of Doubt?
What? No.
Oh, the Zen. Sorry,
The Way of Zen or something.
Way of Zen. Yeah.
Yeah, I just bought a book.
I finished that in Audible like 2 months ago.
Really?
It's dense.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's all about the Tao. So
Yeah, I think the one I bought was The Wisdom of Insecurity or something like that. But some of his talks on YouTube are that good, like so good.
And his
And
accent's amazing.
Yeah, he's just really got a really good voice. But he talks about all that same stuff, like the connectedness of all things. He was pretty
I
onto
got
it.
into Alan Watts through Ram Dass.
Ram Dass is really good.
Yeah.
There's this guy. There's one guy I've been loving called Rupert Spira. Have you heard of him?
No.
He's unbelievable. Some of his meditations and stuff. And that's the other thing. Like, we live in such a privileged era of the technology at our fingertips. Back in the day, 50 years ago, if you wanted to learn a lot of this stuff, you would have had to go voyage to India and search.
Yeah, get a Rishikesh.
Yeah, and search in fucking obscure little temples and caves and stuff. And there's something romantic about that. But you can just type in on YouTube, and obviously there's a lot of fake information and weird stuff out there. But there's also every bit of profound information at your fingertips. So it's like you can use that technology any way you want. It's such a good tool. So many good talks and meditations and books and like anything you want to learn, you can.
There's a New Testament principle that says that by beholding you become changed, and I think that the more that we can just feed into our bodies, obviously with nutrition and what we're feeding ourselves physically, but I still the temptation is to get back on the Netflix train and just kind of just watch so much stuff that's just going to get me by and fill up time. But I find that as I'm on this path, just being intentional with curating what I'm feeding my soul.
Yeah.
Because,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. That's
using that time because it's so short.
That's actually a big one. And I actually don't watch anything anymore because I've been kind of, I guess, the last few years, as what I spoke about, I guess the best analogy would be I'm trying to empty become more still basically. Yeah. And I feel like if I watch a really stimulating movie, like a violent movie or something, like a movie I used to watch, that night I'll just be thinking about it heaps. It won't affect me in a bad way. It's just my mind stimulated and it's run through. Then the next day I'll go to meditate or go for a run and I'm thinking about it. And I just had the realization a while ago that I just don't need to put this shit in me. Everything you watch goes inside of you, and then you got to kind of digest it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I was
more noise for yourself.
Yeah, it's just basically more noise, and then the next day you'd meditate to try and still it. So I feel like it was basically competing with each other. You meditate to kind of still the mind, and then you watch a stimulating movie which fucking stimulates the mind. So I was like, I'm just not going to watch that stuff anymore because I wasn't really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Which makes you a pretty boring person. I don't drink, do drugs, I don't watch movies. My girlfriend's got a pretty boring life with me, but
I'm sure she froze.
no, I do lots of good shit in the daytime to make up for it.
Sure. Benny, thanks so much for the chat, brother.
No worries,
it's been
mate.
Awesome, man. I really want to come for a run with you. I
Yeah,
don't think
for
I'll be able
sure.
to keep up, but
I'll do a slow one.
That's cool, man. Well, dude, high fives.
Cheers, brother.
I feel really fed from this conversation, really nourished, and it is awesome to see guys similar age that are talking about these things. And in a lot of ways, you're giving your life to curiosity and chasing things.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
it's incredible what the band's doing and the business is doing, but just seeing your life journey and the flowering of consciousness within you it's beautiful, man.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Dude, thanks for having me at your house.
No worries.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Catch you, bro.
Thank you for listening to the Beginning of Us podcast. Music is by myself, Billy Otto.
Check it out on Spotify. Heaps of love.